Hello, my name is Dr. George Mochocki, and welcome to International Finance Management, Finance 225, offered by Harper College. We're covering Chapter 21, International Cash Management. You're taking me an online class or a face-to-face class, and this is a supplement. You have to read the book first. You utilize my mind maps that you could print out in course management system, Blackboard. You have access to it. There's two sheets in a PDF file. You're to the second tier, and then you read the book. You add on your notes. In the classroom, we'll discuss it, or in the discussion board, add on what you thought you forgot, and do the homework problems, the equation. Remember, I'm focusing more on concepts and strategies. Very little or real easy calculations on the final exam. I'm more concerned at this level at a community college or your freshman or sophomore year that you understand strategy. The strategy is from a MMC, multinational corporations perspective. And you're going to be looking at it has one subsidiary or several subsidiaries in the international market, and who's controlling the cash? Where is the cash coming from, and where is the cash going out? Do I let the subsidiaries control their own cash flow, or do I want what they in the reading that you see, centralized cash management that's controlled from the parent company? The whole issue is that the subsidiaries bring value, shareholders value, increased shareholders value wealth. Or sometimes it depends on the economics of what's going on right now. There's a lot of things going up and down because of the Chinese market having a little bit a big bubble, for lack of better words, the devaluation, the currency. So the stock markets are kind of it's a volatile market, or what you would consider there's a lot of unstable ability. So it may be to a maybe to an advantage to have it centralized and not having all each individual subsidiaries taking their gamble or the risk. So you could always change back. You could give power back, or you could take back. Look at it as your charge card or your checking account in a family. You have a family of five, six. Look at your family. You're the multinational, what do you call it, parent company, for lack of better words, ties in nicely. And I give access to my checking account to my wife, my kids, my siblings, whoever, or your substantial other ones, or significant other, or substantial. I'm thinking of dollars all the time. Your significant other ones, or your partner in a business who has access to this. Now, there's only so much money in that checking account, and you say I'm going to leave 20%, 30% to pay the bills, but everyone's taking. There's no controls. There's no mechanism. Each one of your individuals that have access to the account is using the money, and there's no control. So when it comes to the payments, we don't have it. But if you have, say, hey, you can only spend 200 here, you have 200 here, that's your max, and I trust you. Don't go over the max unless you consult with the the parent, the multinational, and that's one way of doing it. But you have to have trust in subsidiaries. Otherwise, they all have. Remember, when we looked at agency costs, that each subsidiary is going to look for its own better wealth. That's just human nature. The kids are looking for their own better wealth, but they're not adding value to the, or may not be adding value or taking value away from the parent MMC. And remember, the whole structure of an MMC international that we've been covering through this whole 21 chapters is to bring value back to the MSC. The subsidiary is just an extension of the department. Only instead of doing it in a domestic or corporation or centralized, we decentralize because it gives me more flexibility. But when it comes to the cash, do I have a centralized policy or a decentralized policy that the subsidiary can make their own decision? Depends on the subsidiary, depends on how tight you want that control, depends how much money you have. You have less money, you want to have a tighter control. Remember, you can always loosen the control, say, okay, give me a charge card back, give me a debit card back until everything settles, and I could always return it, or put new parameters or adjust the policy. Okay, so like I said before, this is offered by Harper College. If you're not in Harper College's geographic area, which is in the northern end of Cook County in Illinois, look at your local community college. They have there's other colleges, community colleges, that's the best bang for your money. And I can tell you that right now, I am a community college graduate, worked all my way up to my doctoral stage. So it's a good start. It gives you a good solid foundation. And some of you maybe as business owners, you just want to start understanding it because you are more and more. You have no, just by default, you're already doing some international, importing your goods or trying to sell your goods international, and now you want to open up a subsidiary. So you're going through the same process. A good review. If you haven't signed up for the class, you could get some general information, but I'm just going to skim it over. Remember, this is at the end, and I want you to look. You could stop my video, look at some of the graphs that I have, because I know a lot of students will utilize their smartphones, after lecture and everything else, because it's something you could have handy and to pull out a computer, and in between your breaks at work, not during your work so you get fired, but your breaks at work, you could look at some of it, and that's how you study for the final exam. I am more concerned about you understanding the strategy and the new vocabulary and the new concepts. Some of you already had accounting, some of you had corporate finance. That's a plus. Intro to business. We cover every chapter. It's a survey class, so you should do pretty good. Okay, so and remember, look me up. Say, hey, I want to sign up for Dr. Jordan Mochocki. I teach management and marketing classes. I'm a contractor for Harper College, and I also teach at the College of Lake County, College Lake County in Lake County. They're both community colleges, and I could mention both names because if you're in Cook County, you're in Harper, or some of the Cook County is a large county, so Chicago colleges are in there, and there's other community colleges. But your own local community college, you'll get a good you get good return on your investment money. Whether you're sending your employees or yourself for professional growth, or you need this as a transferable class. Okay, so let's get going in here. Remember, ask for Dr. Jordan Mochocki. What class is going? I'm trying to pay off my student loans to be a good corporate citizen. I would have had them paid off, but the economy kind of went up and down, and that's no different. Remember, businesses have to do what you have to do. Same thing what you have to do in your own financial situation as a business owner or even an individual. Things happen. Hey, I have a lot of money sometimes, and now sometimes I don't have as much of a cash inflow or outflow. Like a lot of outflows, but so I got to control my outflows because my inflows have been reduced a little bit, but now things are picking up. So call for me, ask for me, and they'll tell you what other classes, or look me up. Sometimes I come up at staff, so just call the business and social office at Harper and say, hey, Dr. George Mochocki, which classes is he teaching, or which class he'll be teaching in the future. This way, they'll call me back and say, hey, I don't know why, but his classes are filling up because he's doing well. That's my sales pitch. I'm a double major, management, marketing, so I always got to put it. You never miss an opportunity to make new connections. You never miss an opportunity to bring in new customers or clients into your operation. Your job as a manager, a financial manager, is how do I bring in more cash or streams of income coming in, and monitor streams of cash flows going out. So we're going to be talking about centralized cash management. Sometimes you end up with extra cash. This inflation rate dropped, or one subsidiary for some reason has extra cash. They came under budget, or the spot rate change or exchange rate worked in my favor. What I do with the extra cash? You could reinvest it and give it back to your shareholders. That's good. But let's say if you have other capital expenditures to grow your operation. Remember, shareholders' wealth is not always giving back money as dividends into money back to your shareholders in dividends. They like that, but a lot of shareholders are looking at the company growing. So when I do my stock portfolio increases, I know I'll get my dividend. If I decide to sell, I will make a good return on my investment. Instead of putting in one company, they're putting in this company because we're global. You understand, organizations have to expand. So some of the money they have to retain to reinvest back into it, so it grows. So I say, hey, they're retaining. I understand it. I didn't invest in this MMC parent organization for the dividends. I invested it for growth potential that's going to other markets, and my stocks are going up, and it increases my personal wealth, for lack of better words, which what are shareholders looking. Or a lot of them, we talked about a lot of your larger shareholders are like insurance company and mutual funds, so it gives a better return to my what do you call it, my investors who purchase my stocks or my bonds or okay, or index. I'll leave it like that. Let's leave it here for now. I'll confuse you more. I'm trying to keep it under a half an hour. I apologize. I just get so excited sometimes. Okay, so let's look at multinational working capital. Again, it's a summarization. So what you've done, everything else in the class, lecture, everything else. Now you're going to look at this, and I'm just going to briefly go over it. Remember, this is my last time talking to you, so I'm adding a little bit more. All right, so I'm going to go over this, and you look at your maps, what you wrote down, and say, hey, what did I miss? This will be a good tool for studying for the final exam or your final presentation, which is going to be open up a subsidiary through the eyes of an MMC parent. Just this whole book, the whole chapter, this is how the author presented it, but you could utilize it for small company. I mean, the hedging, the forward contracts, all that could be accomplished. You don't have to be a multinational. It just makes it easier this way because you see the more complexity of an MMC parent. Once it starts growing globally, it has more subsidiaries and how much control do I want. How much trust I put them in them. The cash is bottom line. Sometimes you got to reel in that debit card or from your wife or husband or partner or your significant other, whatever, because they're spending too much. And you can let it go when things are good, but sometimes you got to wheel it in because you have to be able to pay your bills on time. Otherwise, your cost of taking either a line of credit or short-term finances is going to be higher. Even long-term finances could be a little bit higher. Okay, multinational working capital. Let me just bring this together. And this one I ended up doing the color. I was having little things. I upgraded this to the new Windows 10 things, and it seems like the Adobe or the Java is giving me a little darkness. But that's okay. So if you're looking at my PDF file that's a little dark, figure it out. That's a good way. Write it in. The more senses you utilize to studying by writing it, reading, listen to me, and adding into the higher probability you're bringing from your short-term memory to your long-term memory, so you could recall it when you need it to solve a problem. So you have the key parts. Where is it at? Where did I put it? It's in here. And remember, when you're taking a test, if you're looking down on the ground, it means you don't really know it. If you, studies, and who am I to say? But if you're looking up, that means you're trying to go into your brain to try to get it out. Okay? All right, so that's what we have here. Cash management, subsidiaries expenses, subsidiaries revenue. These are the main topics: subsidiary dividend payments and subsidiary liquidity. Who controls that? The subsidiary does it and just notify me as long as I'm getting a good return on my investment. And that could be a good strategy. That could be a strategy depending on your industry, depending what makes sense for you, and depending where that subsidiary is at and who the management is, what's going on with the political and everything else around there. All those are very important aspects that we've covered. I'm just trying to summarize 20 chapters into this one. The last thing, remember, the cash is what makes it grow. That's the blood of a business. Cash, money, in and out, making, like it or not. Okay? Okay, so when we're looking at cash, let me just make this just a touch bigger. I can never remember what I think. I think I'll leave it at, I thought it was 250 worked well in here. Excuse me, remember, I am live, and I'm not reading off a script, sort of, but sort of not. I try to add on into this. Let me see. There we go. A little easier for you to see, especially those with glasses or some of my baby boomers that are watching on this. All right, cash management. The whole thing we're looking at cash management. So we're looking at multinational working capital management. We're just going to talk about the money, the cash. It all ties in. So if I look at cash management, is the optimization of cash flows and investment of excess cash. So I would just go cash flows, cash management, optimization, whatever you want to do, or or just cash flows and excess cash. I'm trying to help you. I put more words like the is, does. You don't need that for studying. I just need key concept, but I want you to outline it. As I indicated in other recordings that you've already looked at, I want you to, everyone thinks differently, everyone contains information. I give you a general idea what works for me. I would just had a few words and it would just, I read it, I done the homework, we discussed it, boom, boom, it'll come right back to you and you know it. But I put this in so it's easier for you. So I put a lot more in than I would in a regular mind map. So if somebody is an expert on mind map, George, you put too much stuff in here. Dr. George, way too much stuff. I understand that. I'm doing it because you haven't had a mind mapping class with me. I don't understand if you know it. In the corporate world, a lot of people do the mind maps real quickly, but everyone does different keywords. If I may look at somebody else's mind map, what he or she thinks is important, I may go, what the hell are they talking about? because I didn't create it. I could look at it, I could use that thing because I didn't read the material, I didn't read the book, I didn't look at the example, we didn't discuss it. So it's just too much information. It doesn't make sense, but you have everything else and you know it. Okay, and I'm using the regular terminology. So if you see any questions on that and you say, what's the definition? Give me a definition of cash management, and you can put in your own words. Utilizing my cash coming in and maximizing it so I don't lose any money. So I'm always making money or stable. Remember, with the cash flow, I want the right amount of cash. I don't want to have too much that's sitting there idle, not making any money. I don't have too little because then I'm going to be late on my bills and I have to pay some penalties. So I want to have just enough cash, and the rest of the cash that I have, I should be, as from finance perspective, investing it, or like we're going to talk later on, maximizing it, extra, or even for a short-term loan or something that makes some money. But that's not the intent of management cash. My cash is the same thing. If I'm doing any kind of speculating or speculator, I still have to have cash. Either I'm doing a short for my buying on margins or whatever. I have to have some cash available, always there, to take care of the daily bills and any kind of ups and downs. But sometimes by default, inflation went down, or the spot rate or the exchange rate was in my favor, so I have additional cash. What do I do with it? I could give it back to the shareholders, or I could reinvest it so I could improve the shareholders' value. Some shareholders, a lot of times from MSCs, they're not going there strictly for the dividends. They're looking at the growth and the stock potential. I buy a house to live in it, and in about 5, 10 years, I want to sell it, hopefully for a higher return than I would if I would have put it in a bank or a CD or a bond or invested in the stocks. Okay, but I need the cash there. Remember, if you have all your money in cash and everything else, a lot of people have a lot of things, a lot of investments, but they don't have a penny there. I say, hey, you mind giving me $5? For what? I don't have any money for coffee. Man, you own a Mercedes, you own this, I know, but it's all tied up. That is not what you need. Remember, an MSC, I have to have all that. That's good, gives me good value. But how do I keep my creditors off? If I'm late on my bills, it keeps on increasing my rate, because delinquent, they're gonna say, hey, that's the character. We talked about that in business, 5 C's of credit. So it's gonna cost me more to get a loan or to borrow money. You know what I mean? Even a line of credit, everything else at a higher thing, because you're risk. Remember, you're a little risky, not paying all the time. Because when we look at accounts receivable, a certain percentage, I know I'm going to default or be late. It used to be like 20% during the economic meltdown, for lack of down, the housing down. I think it dropped down to 40, 60% were defaulting. So that's money I'm expecting to pay my bills. It's not coming, so I got to adjust it. So after this all settled, they started tightening up. The money's there, but now they're loosening up again. But I don't want to be. I want to have a good FICA score, so I could get the money that I need at a very low price, because that's going to be part of my yield. That's going to be a cost of doing business. Okay. Now, subsidiary expenses. How do I pay? Subsidiary will normally have a more difficult time forecasting future outflow of payments if his purchases are international, rather than domestic, because there's exchange rate fluctuation. It's if anyone, if you bought anything online, and we all buy something online, excuse me. Okay, we buy something online. I buy it in UK. Let's use that, 'cause a lot of people buy it in UK, and because it looks almost like a dollar to pounds. And, what I mean. So go to UK, or European Union currency, similar. It has a dollar, but then the thing in front of it, the symbol in front of it, tells me what kind of currency it is. But I'm buying it there, and it's, it's a good price, because I'm thinking it's U.S. dollars, or even if I know the exchange rate. But for some reason, delay the shipment, or delay something, and they say, hey, we're going to be another week, it's out of order. At that time, it was good. And in 1 month, something happened, and then when they actually ship it, that's when Visa or MasterCard, whoever you're using, will convert whatever the exchange rate is at that time. And what was a good deal a month ago now is costing you double or more or higher. And what the heck happened? I wasn't expecting that. Now, that's in a real simplistic concept. Now look at an MCM. They have a lot of bills, They have multiple bills. They have different currencies, different, depends how global they are. And I'm expecting more than one subsidiary, so I have to be able to do that. So remember, that's just a strategy. And who controls it? Do I let the subsidiary do it, or do I want the parent company to do it? We're going to talk a little bit about central cash flow. Well, let's look at the subsidiary. The next one is the subsidiary revenue. Subsidiary sales value may be more volatile. And that's risky, for lack of better words, because I can't control right now, because of what's going on with China. It's slowing down, and now Iran has, for lack of better words, if everything goes well in their favor, some of the embargo going to be lifted off or sanctions on that, so they're going to get a cash flow coming in. And that means they're going to be selling more oil. So that's going to, again, the market, people are going, how much, oil prices now, I think a barrel is 40, used to be 110, 120 going up. Now, is it going to go down lower? Everyone wants to get some money. Everyone's going to get something else. Saudi Arabia is doing that. And what? I don't know what they're doing. But in my mind, hey, depending on what I'm doing, you have to be aware. So I may be more cautious when the market is going like this, volatility, than I would be when it's stable, when I would consider a bear market. Kind of stable, things could go up, but the bear could wake up. And I'm not talking a bear for Russia, the symbol, just a bear market, a bear or bull market. Okay? Okay, so we had the subsidiary sales value may be more volatile than if the goods were sold domestically. Okay, because it depends on the exchange rate, what's going on. The strength of the dollar or the currency, or where the subsidiary is getting its imports from, or where it's selling it to. Okay, now accounts receivable management is an important part of a subsidiary working capital management, because it's a potential input on cash inflows. And I mentioned that earlier about accounts receivable, where we talked about factoring on international. That makes a big difference. Remember when I talked about the percentage of my account receivable? Is that money's coming in is what I expect that inflow coming into, so I can pay my outflow, my bills. And if that's not coming in, something's happening. Okay, now subsidiary dividend payments. When the dividend pay, and you look at it, a lot of subsidiaries have stocks in that home country, even though the MMC is controlling it. If I look at Yum Corporation, here's a major subsidiary, but you could buy stocks in Burger King, you could buy stocks in, I forgot the Wendy's, I forgot who else. There's a bunch of restaurants. You'd be surprised. I think Kentucky Fried Chicken, and are all under this one MMC that's controlling it, but keeping it the subsidiary local. So if I made a mistake on that, please forgive me. I'm going off the script, but I know look up Yum. I think it's YUM.com, and you'll be surprised what American or what a restaurant is underneath that umbrella. But okay, so I'm looking at dividends payment. So who controls that? Should I just leave the subsidiary control? Remember, if they're paying out dividends, that's outflow from a subsidiary. The parent may need that money to say, hey, bring some of that back in here. Don't give it in. You could give it back to dividends if it's not right, or retain half of it. Get some back to the dividends to keep the shareholders in that domestic arena happy. But we need some cash back. But if you just leave it up to them, they're going to try to keep them happy, because otherwise it's still going to be well. But remember, I'm talking about cash. I'm talking about money coming in and out. Who has the cash? We'll discuss it further on. Okay, denominating the currencies, forecasting cash flows is easier. So subsidiary could forecast that a little bit better than it could with the one earlier here when I'm looking about the expenses. Okay, and now subsidiary liquidity management. After accounting for all the outflows, bills and everything else, and inflow payments, the subsidiary may have excess or a deficient cash balance, for lack of better words, at the end. It uses liquidity management to invest excessive cash. I just don't let it sit around. What do I do with it? Like I mentioned, give it back, or I reinvest. Do I reinvest in the subsidiary, or do I reinvest, give it to the parent? Because they may have another subsidiary that be more profitable or started up that needs the help because of the economy, or I want to start a whole new thing. The whole thing is, it's not your money. It belongs to the parent. You're utilizing it, and hopefully we trust you enough to give it back to me when I need it. But you have to, the parent, the MMC, has to provide the rules and the policies. As a good manager, you follow. But you know you got the politics. Those you've taken me from management or something else. Okay, centralized cash management. Look, it's the last time I'm going to talk to you. I'm trying to make this nice, so you remember me, so you take me back, and so you know what to study for the test. Decentralized management is not optimal. Okay, optimal because it will force MMCs to maintain larger cash investments than necessary. Okay, so it's telling me decentralized is not, because they're going to hold it because they think, hey, I need the money here. You have one that's very frugal and the other one's more thrifty, but something's going on there, so they're going to keep the cash flow, so they are under budget, so they could pay their own bills, but they may be overestimated. Let the parent make the decision on that. Okay, MMC commonly use centralized cash management to monitor and manage the parent subsidiary and inner subsidiary cash flows. Remember, there's cash going back. Even though I'm not giving cash, I'm hitting their account or their budget or their activities or their function, whatever. It depends. I'm just giving some of the terminology, whatever your terminology is. It's not like if one department I'm doing work for another department, they're not. I'm not doing it for free. They're paying me maybe at a lesser rate, but they're just saying, here, charge my budget and I'll take the cash out of there. So that's when they call it intersubsidiary cash flows. Okay, or you can borrow from one subsidiary to another, depends on your strategy and the control you've, or let's look control empowerment. I control that in from other classes you had, to the managers or to the subsidiaries underneath your the parent's jurisdiction. And here's an exhibit one. And remember, I'm not going to go stop it. I put it in a smaller frame. You can make it on your laptop. Look how the subsidiary one. Look where the cash flow goes here. They're borrowing between the two subsidiaries. They may be, and I'm looking like the European Union. You could have subsidiaries in France and in Germany. They may border, so it makes sense. You already got the relationship, but it's still underneath the same parent. And if you say, hey, we just borrow between each other, we've talked about that kind of strategy, I think, a couple of chapters ago. And then purchase securities going back. So you have two things going on. You have this one going on, and then this one coming back with the money cash flows. Okay, look at it. We've discussed that in class. Stop it if you don't remember. I may have sometimes I throw a diagram and ask you certain questions so you could identify. I just want you to understand how the flow goes, and we discussed that in our lectures already. Okay, accommodating cash shortages. The key role of centralized cash management division is to facilitate the transfer of funds from subsidiary with excess funds to those that need the funds. No different. One of my siblings or one of my partners needs money, I just move it from one account to the other. And you do that, remember, as parents. So try to think parents and your kids or your friend or your whatever relationships you have with them, and they're your subsidiaries. And one has more, and you say, I'm going to take it out of your account since I'm controlling it, and I'm going to push it over here. Or you've got so much money available here, but I'm going to, you don't need all that, bring it back, because you haven't used it, and I need it over here to sustain this. You want both of them to work well, because if one drops completely down, what's the whole ultimate goal of an MMC? Is to bring shareholders well. So if this one goes under, it's going to affect the whole parent shareholders. So I got to make the balance. Or you may ask the subsidiary, you have any need of cash, everything else we need to help your brother, sister, subsidiary, subsidiary one or two that needs some cash. Okay, so now technology used to facilitate fund transfer, and there were some glitches if you look at it. Technology works all the time, but sometimes it has a glitch. So what do I do in between? How long it's going to be down? How do I transfer fund? How do I pay my bills? So you should have some cash that may not be able to, you may not be able to bring all the money out of the parent there because of some kind of issue with technology. A centralized cash management system needs continual flow of information about currency positions to determine whether one subsidiary shortage of cash can be covered by the other. So I have to basically look as a parent. I know each account that I have, because they're coming up there. Even if I set up their own checking account, I fund it if it needs, if it goes under. And this is that's the same rationale you're looking at. You have to know which one is short. If they're short, I'm just going to put money in there. Say, what is going on? Did you forget to enter it? Or you have to explain it. Or if you don't know what you're doing, you're out. Remember, in management, especially more in a multinational, and you're at that parent level or even the subsidiary, you have to be able to instantly tell your parent what I'm going to do, what cash I have. If you're not, they're going to minimize your budget. They're going to minimize your exposure or your ability to work on your own, but always rely on me. If I think you're thrifty, just spending on frugal things, I'm going to control it. You need cash, ask me, and I'll give it to you. But you have to justify. You don't go to that because that takes too long. You have to trust your subsidiaries. But the new one, you may watch more until you have the confidence in that management team that's controlling the money. Okay, monitoring cash positions. The centralized cash management division serves as a monitor. They still could have the control, but I'm still watching over. I'm looking at their accounts over subsidiaries because they can detect potential financial problems quicker. I, as a parent, could see your money's going down. This one's going up. Hey, you're a little bit below. If you look at inventory, we talked prior back there, inventory evaluation. If I look at inventory, if you have too much here and not enough there, what's going on? You have too much cash here. Why do you have so much excess cash? What happened there? The subsidiary hopefully say, hey, George, parent company, parent, look, mom, dad, or whatever, I've got so much extra cash. Do you need it for someplace else? Or do you want me to reinvest? That I'll trust them more. But if you're not going to keep it, you're going to keep it and hoarding it. That's why I had to monitor. I'm going to minimize this. Every time you have over this threshold, you return the money back to me. Okay? Or explain why you need it. So centralized has its pluses, has its negatives because it slows down. It's one more step into the process because the economy is going so much. Remember, the subsidiaries in that local geographic areas understand the forces a lot better than me here. I'm looking what's going here. Let's see if I'm in Egypt or I'm in Saudi Arabia or if I'm in the European Union. I'm in the U.S., so I may see it my dashboard, but I really don't have all that flavor where they know, hey, this is only temporary, George. We've been through this. Don't worry. Hang on there. Trust me. And I'll say, okay, I can touch you for a week. Then happens, I'm pulling it out. Or you're fired. Or you're relocated to a position someplace that they never hear of. It's almost like firing you internationally. But if you go there and make money, they bring you back. Because sometimes they put you as a punishment. I'm throwing in my management ideas that you've looked at international management or any kind of management. How do we, you want to fire an employee, but you want to show them and other employees that you have to be more ethical and forthcoming back to the parent. Okay, accelerating cash inflow. Okay, sometimes you want to accelerate in advance, using lock boxes and pre-authorizing payments, minimizing currency conversion costs, or multilateral netting system. By netting using bilateral netting systems, and here's some exhibits. Let me go. So I have different currencies. Switzerland, inter-subsidiary payment mix, and this one's netting schedules. So I'm trying to see where does it make sense. Look at it. I left it on there. We discussed it. I'm already running a little bit over. Stop it. Freeze me. Okay, remember, we went through all this. I don't want to repeat again. I'm just telling you to be aware of it. Okay, managing blocked funds, and we talked about that. Funds by incurring costs within a country or using transfer pricing. I want to say it's like chapter like 15 or 16. Just look at it. Look in the index in your book. It'll tell you where we're at. All right, and then it's more in detail. Okay, because it all does with cash. We're at now here's just the cash coming in, and then always remember I want a steady flow of cash. I need it look at it as a water supply. I need so much here. Anything above that, I may have to pay extra or acquire from someplace else. But I need that steady flow to run my operation. Okay, so managing inner subsidiary cash strategy by using leading or lagging strategy. Depends what's going on. Which one's going to lead and which one do I slow down on or lag. Okay, let's hit this one. Complication and optimizing cash flow. I think in the book it just says optimizing cash flow, but when the author really stressed on complications that could happen. Remember, subsidiary, a lot of things could go right or wrong. I'm always trying to be positive. Everything's going to go right. Okay, so what do we have here? We have two main items. Okay, so the two main things is company-related characteristics or government restrictions. They can complement, give you some kind of remember, as a manager, you know things are going to happen, or you should be aware of it. You try to minimize it through, hedging or different strategies. We talked about it, but certain things just happen. So, because I've got so many different things, you have to monitor. And what we've discussed in the last couple of chapters, software. It used to be quarterly when I get from Central Bank, and some businesses they'll do it monthly, others weekly. Now you could know instantly because of the software. If all your links are working well and all your uh, levels and policies are embedded, and where your subsidiaries can't play with it. Remember, the whole thing is you got to have a system in there that is no one could modify it without you knowing what happened with that cash flow, what they're doing with it. All right, so let's go into here. If one of the subsidiary delays payments to the other subsidiary, because that's a relationship they had, the other subsidiary may be forced to borrow. Or he's going to borrow. It could do internally, it could go on his loan, or it's going to go to the parent company and say, hey, Dad, Mom, I need some extra cash. I don't know why. Joey was supposed to pay me, but I'm Sally. Joey's supposed to pay me, but he didn't pay me, so I need some out. And I go, Joe, I missed him, and I had a bad thing or something else. Why didn't you tell me? So I'm gonna give it, or I'm gonna say, hey, you've got a good line of credit, take it over here. Could you have something you could do domestically? Because it'd be because of the exchange rate fluctuation or spot rate that's out there, it may be better. But you have to discuss that. Don't be afraid. That's why you're in that position. What makes sense to make the parent, and I'm looking at the whole, I'm controlling it all. You've got the flexibility. If I'm centralized, I don't have an issue. I can find out, but I still monitoring. Nicer if you come up to me before I find out. Then I still don't, especially from the MMC perspective, then I can trust a subsidiary management. It's not the subsidiary, it's who's controlling the cash. Someone in there is the lead. Okay? Now, a centralized approach that monitors all inter-subsidiary, remember I'm live, I'm not reading off a script, it's recorded, should minimize such problems. But how much risk? You want to trust them because you got more, you don't want to be worried about all that. Even the software is telling me I'm just monitoring them. Okay, look at your car. If you look at all those dashboards, look at dashboards, you got oil, lights, electricity, everything else is telling you what's going on, right? You don't have to monitor it. If something's going on, you could focus in on that. It's telling you ahead of time, beep, 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 warning, we're out of gas, warning, you're overheated. So you could set up your dashboard. It's no different than many of us have our accounts and you have a high or low set up. If so much money comes in, I want to know about it because I'm surprised. If so much money is going out, it'll tag me or send me a message. So you set the parameters when you want to be notified, how much you want to be notified, when you want to be more notified. And think of a lot of our using GPS. The GPS has a thing. Here's the speed limit. You go 5 miles. You should, maybe 2 miles over the speed limit, and then they'll give you a buzzer. So you make sure you're in that parameter. Most police officers can give you a ticket up to 5 miles over because you're going down. The judges usually will kick it out. 10 mile, forget it. You're getting a ticket. Unless you're in some smaller town and you need a cash flow, and you're the inflow of cash because they got outflow coming in, they may get you for 1 mile over. And you can't say, hey, that's not fair. You could fight it. You could do that. It's going to cost you time and everything else. Usually maybe 2 miles. That depends on the rules and the procedure. Don't argue, give them the ticket, or go for some kind of safety school. And they don't care. Even if when you go for that, and look, I'm not saying to drive fast. Remember, I'm doing this like I've been in a classroom. I'm trying to use analogy. I'm not telling you to drive fast, but if you did get the ticket and everything else, and you don't want it on your driver's license or you don't want to upset your credit score, you pay the penalty, or you'll take a 4-hour driver's training course in lieu of. But what happens? You're still paying that municipality the same amount you would for the ticket. It's just that you're not being penalized. If you're good for 6 months or 3 months without a ticket, then it's fine. You know what I mean? That's when you look at all the red cameras, up here in Northern. I don't know how it is if you're watching this down south or other parts of the U.S., because I do have a YouTube on here. And you're going, what are you talking about? We got a red light camera. So red light, they don't care who's driving. If you run the light over a certain thing, or a yellow, or it's red, and you're so far, not that far in the intersection, they'll send you a ticket right away. They don't know who's driving because you can't take a picture of your privacy, or a lot of people got this, the tinted windows. So what you do, you get a ticket, you get fined. You see this car, you got a video, you saw whoever is driving it. They don't care. They charge whoever the car is licensed to. So be careful when you let someone drive your car, because you get not only parking tickets, you get speeding tickets. You're responsible. You don't pay for it, you can't renew your car license, or they'll basically put a hold on your driver's license. Government. That's why I'm trying to pay off my student loans. I love the government. They help me out. You know what I mean? And I like to pay the fair share. What I want to give back. So take my classes or ask for me. Okay, government restrictions. You're my last class here. I want you to remember. Boy, that guy's always selling. Take more classes. That's how I get students to sign up for my course. You already got used to me, so you already know what I give you. You know how I do it, and and it's something no different than a company that has services. Well, it's hard for a company to change different services or investment or different bankers. I already know we got a relationship. But if that relationship gets sour for whatever reason, you got to find another relationship. This isn't like your personal life. This is business. You're hired there. This isn't working out right financially. You're losing money. I got to change the conditions. I got to change the rules, or I just cut you off completely. Or in a lot of cases, the MNC would just sell off a subsidiary that's not profitable or bringing money. It may be profitable there, but it's not bringing any money back to the mothership, for lack of better words. I was watching a Star Wars movie. Okay, so existing government restrictions can minimize the abilities of banks to facilitate cash transfers. You know what I mean? I'm looking at that. Disrupt a cash flow optimization policy. And no different than a debit card. I was at the store buying something else, and I brought food, and it came up to like $70, and the machine, you got a new system, it crashed. Remember? Transfer money. I'm trying to do it so you can see what's happening on a larger scale. It didn't work. I said, you got cash? No. I said, well, most places will basically just use the old credit card, make it a charge card, the one that's got me and sign up. No, that's not how we do it. No cash to go. You don't have any cash. Who carries a lot of cash? Business people carry very little cash on them. Why? I need a paper trail. I got to write off this. I need for IRS. So remember, a business card, when those of you are looking at it and not familiar with business, most business credit cards and everything else provide me more information than your personal credit card for the home. They just say, here's this. They'll tell me line items or more line items because of business cards, because I need that. Accounting needs that to how much is expenses, how much should we pick up as a corporation, what could be written off, what not. So it gives me a more itemized picture of what's going on. Okay, limitation of a banking system. The ability of banks to facilitate cash transfer for MMCs may vary among countries. Some countries may have that relationship. So look at the U.S. When we're looking at money coming out of the central bank, is the central bank out of New York. Even though all the other banks are there, most of those transfer, everything else comes out of the central bank, the district out of the New York. Okay? All right, so we've got that. Let's see how much more. Oh, we're pretty good. I want to get one more. I may make it underneath a half an hour. I'm so happy. The only thing you remember, you're learning, and I'm trying to bring it so it's not so dry. All right. Remember, you know this stuff. You can always turn off my voice and just move back and forth. But the more you do the voice, the sound, and everything else, it works out well. Okay, determine the effective rate. So if you're watching this a second time, you want to hear it. You could on your speaker and just look at the thing, stop it. You're basically what I want you to do out of my mind maps and out of this whole presentation is look at the keywords. Look that you overlook. See if you overlook something when you're taking your notes. That's how you learn how to become a good note taker. And after a while, you can minimize your notes real quickly. Determine effective yield rate of a bank. I don't need that. Okay, go bank deposit considers what? Interest rate and rate appreciation. That's all I highlight. I get rid of all of that. I did this here because it's easier. Because some people need that time. I have some students are English is second language, so it flows. Okay, and can therefore be very different from quoted interest rates on deposit denominations in a foreign currency. And here's the formula. We discussed that in class. You already had some homework problems, so I'm not going to go on that. I'm not really at this stage. Remember, it's not that I'm trying to shortchange you. You've done the homework, everything else. I want you to do well on your finals. If you understand the concept and strategies, even on it's not an accounting class where it's strictly number. I'm looking at this point here strategically what is going on with the money. That's what finance does. Accounting has to take, here's how many units, that's their job. and I give you the ratios, and I say, okay, what do I change? I know what components I have to do. In finance, I'm looking at cash flow going back in, but I have to understand what strategies do I utilize. And then in accounting, I say, George, you did well, your return on investment is well, or you lost money. And then I go, ooh, geez, what I did, my strategy didn't work. Then I had to justify it. Remember, this is the last chapter of 21 chapters in international finance. So I'm trying to tie everything in your mindset, what I want you to come out of this course. A lot of information. The same book here is most likely, if I look at the book, it's I would look at it at a bachelor's and a master's level because they use the same book, you know. But in here, you've got the basic terminology. So when you go for your 4-year university, or even if you're doing it, you have a basic understanding, and then you'll learn. Okay. And masters is they expect you to know all that. So they give you case studies, and you have to come out. Some kind of community colleges prepare you to give you that good a baseline, good foundation. Once you have a good foundation, you do well. You don't want a foundation on sand. You want a foundation on concrete, solid, and that's what you have. And then you'll learn everything else. So that didn't work. It just worked. Okay, so let's look at the implementation interest rate parity. We've had about 6 chapters about that. Short-term investment can be done on uncovered bias of interest rate parity using a forward rate as a forecast, right? So I'm looking, and where did I jump one? Oh, sorry, this one popped up on here. Okay, using a forward rate serves as a break-even point to assess short-term investment decisions. Relationship with international Fisher effect, and we had that with the Fisher effect. Interest rate parity. If the IR interest rate parity holds and the forward rate is an unbiased predictor of the spot rate. So all it's doing is giving me a prediction. And now, this time, I have to know what's going. Other factors are out there. Is it short term or long term? And long term in the U.S. is 2 years. Outside the U.S. is maybe 5, 10. China has like a 10-year program because they're more looking at the long term. The reason in the U.S., a lot of companies in the U.S. is just because of the payout that the executives give. It's more of a short term. They're there and gone. But that's changing, remember? Because there's laws we talked about before when we looked at governments that they have to now, or in the U.S., you have to tell me what's the differential between my low-end employee, my middle employee, and top management. How much more are they getting paid? So in the U.S., we get paid a lot. I mean, the executive levels pay more than any companies outside. So a lot of multinationals, they make a lot of good savings. They buy the U.S. company, cut down on that, and then now you're in the ballpark where we could do that also. And it's not an issue for discussion. Okay, now this one here, if I'm looking at this, it's basically what I have a conclusion about forward rate. So it gives you certain scenarios, and we've discussed this a little more in detail in the class. Stop the video, open it up a little bit, and look. Interest rate parity exists. What do I do? Interest rate, here's implication in investing in foreign market. You're adults. You could read it. You could figure it out. If you can't stop it, look at it. Makes sense. This is a really nice chart. The author did a great job on this. Okay, now using exchange rate forecasts. And using exchange rate forecasts, deriving the EF, okay, it equates to equates foreign and domestic yields. Okay, so I have that using probability. And if I'm looking at this again, we've talked about this. If you're not familiar, stop. Let's look at what's the probability that's going to occur. This one is very low. Doesn't make sense. 18%. Which one? Effective yield if this rate of the change in the Australian dollar, where the heck is it, does occur. Okay, and then here's the probability. U.S. interest rates 11%. Okay, so here's the probability distribution of effective yields. Again with the and looking at the Australian dollar. Okay, again, stop it, look at it, and refresh your mind. There's no on that one. Okay, since even experts' forecasts are not always accurate. Why did I put a comma in there? Okay, I'm trying to do the sentences. I would just go forecast not accurate. I don't remember. It's not always. Kind of look at the weather forecast. You're going to say it's raining. It's being sunny. To say it's sunny, it's going to be rain. So they always give you a 99% You never see a forecast that's 100% is going to be right because the environment, they don't know. Certain things could happen. They're forecasting for the weekend and everything else could change. Okay, instead of relying on a single prediction, you're using probability distribution. Just another way. Remember, you're using a balance, a mix of different ways to uh, assess what strategy, what's going on in the market. Your dashboard and computer systems could have that logic, but eventually just looking at pure numbers, which could be manipulated by other people, as we found out with the interest rates, with LIBOR rate that a lot of international businesses will utilize, and what's other banks are doing, or what we would call in the U.S. the discount rate here. And if I give the discount rate to central bank to 1, that's because you're a good customer. Am I going to give you at the same cost that I received it? We're a business, we're a manufacturer, always going to charge a handling fee or something. You know what I mean? I got it for 2% or 12%. I'm going to try to make some money off it, sell it to you for 14. Or I need something else, and you know what I mean, it's fixed and interest rates going down, but I need a cash flow, so I'll sell it like this, or discount it to improve my own cash flow between parent and subsidiary, or subsidiary with subsidiary. Okay, so now we have that diversifying cash across currencies to limit the percentage of excess cash invested in each country. I have to know what to do with extra. I mentioned before when I used to belong to the Polish American, Catholic Polish American Union. I mean, it's just because I'm a member, and there's a lot of associations out there to help immigrants. When they come in, they help them out because of nonprofit, and then to help other immigrants and networking coming in. So you see a lot of people from India. You see a lot of people come in there, and all of a sudden they have a business or something else. It's because someone is helping them. Eventually, it's a network, and they help each other. But now look at it from a parent perspective. I got subsidiaries in European Union. I use that because there's different countries in there. There are different subsidiaries, and they're helping each other. But overall, the parent MMC is shareholders' value is increasing because I'm very diversified. So one thing happens, it helps, unless it affects the whole global economy. And then you have to, hopefully you got the right hedging policies and the right insurance or cash on hand to ride out the storm, for lack of better words. Okay, dynamic hedging. Strategy applies a hedge when currency held are expected to depreciate, and removing the hedge when currencies held are expected to appreciate. One goes down, one goes down. When do I hedge and when do I remove it? Okay? All right, now we're almost done to our summary. Remember, I'm leaving it out. I close it all off. Where did I go? Yeah, went too far. Here we go. Okay, so let's look at our summary. Let me do it this way. Make it easier. Expand. I just close it down one level. Okay, let's go into summary. Now, if I'm looking at summary, the whole thing we've done, this whole, already it's an hour, or underneath an hour. The main topics: management working their, how to MNC manage your working capital. How to MMCs or multinationals. I put it in there just in case you don't remember. Always trying to reinforce multinational management from an MMC of working capital is complex for MMC. MMC doesn't have the S. The only thing with this program is I just added. MSC may use centralized perspective. MSC centralized cash management can monitor cash flows. We talked about it. The common techniques to optimize cash flows are: if the foreign currency depreciates over the investment period, what happens? MMCs, let me just move this over just a touch, can possibly achieve higher returns when investing excess cash in what? These could be all questions. Short answers out of the book. I'm not saying. I don't know. I kind of do know, but I don't want to tell you right now. Yeah. That's how you learn. But so you write this, or you already have that from the summary. You have all that in here. Could you answer that? That comes in here. So MMC manage your working capital. How? Which includes short-term assets such as inventory, accounts receivable, and cash. Multinational management working capital complexes for MMCs. Why? Because they have foreign subsidiaries, because each subsidiary must have adequate working capital to support its operation. They're living on there, they got to have cash to pay the bills, and not worried I'm going to do a transfer fund that money because something's going to happen. It's going to be late, it's going to show us a late payment, and then everything, like I pay a penalty, that's cash going out. I have enough fluff in there and I don't want to use fluff. I have enough a margin. Fluff means I made stuff up. I'm apologize. That's the marketing side coming in here. I have enough margin room in there for some fluctuations within 1 or 2%, not larger fluctuations or defaults in that. So I have a steady cash flow. It's enough to handle it. I'm not sure what. So I have what you would consider a little bit safety stock, a little a margin on how much I want to keep. Not right to the penny, because that could be troublesome for an MMC, parent and subsidiary. Okay, so MMC uses a central perspective. We talked about that in order to monitor cash positions, who has it, and to ensure funds can be transferred among subsidiaries to accommodate cash deficiencies. Again, you highlight what you want, and that's how what I want you to do. If you miss some of that, oh, I didn't have that. Don't write in order to monitor. Just say monitor cash transfer between subsidiaries and to take care of cash deficiency. I had everything else in 3 words. If I just put the 3 words and looking at what does that mean? That's why I'm helping you here. Remember, this is an educational class, so I give you more, but I also want you to start working on your own. What works well for you? How do you remember? How do you study? If you've taken this class with me or any classes, I have a learning style, what do you call it, for lack of better words, exercise. That's another site, and it tells you learn. How do you learn? A manager should be able to balance all their learning stuff. That's what you have to do when I have to present. I have to be visual, auditory, kinesthetic, right? I forgot one more. Sorry, my mind's going. All right, but you could remember. Hey, you forgot that one. What did you forget? Let me look it up. That's how you're gonna learn. Okay, so let's go. An MSC central cash manager can monitor cash flows between subsidiaries and between each subsidiary. Basically, you're looking at everything. So when you're writing this thing, MSC, when I'm looking at central, I watch every penny. I may give you flexibility to spend it, but I'm keeping an eye on it. I got certain dashboards or certain parameters set. Somebody took out too much money. It's already gone, but so I know what's going on. And if your subsidiaries know you had the dashboards, you understand the dashboards, and you're utilizing the dashboards, you'll keep it in control. You don't have to be micromanaging them. That's why you hired them. You figured they have the expertise, but in their mind, they could watch. I could pull it up at any time if I think there's some issues. Let me just go this one here. Okay. It can facilitate the transfer of funds from subsidiaries with excess fund. We talked about to those that need funds, and MSC uses its funds efficiently. Remember, let me just throw this in, and this is once in a while when I teach the corporate finance or even the business classes or any classes. If I look at it from a managerial perspective, you're at the higher level managers. You have a budget. You fought for that budget. You said, I need this money. I need this money. You had a good case. You understand all that thing. You know what your accountant's looking for. You know what your other subsidiaries, but you know how to sell the idea. You present the idea, and you've got this cash. Something happened in an environment, you end up with an extra, let's say, $2 million or $5 million. You have in there, and you say, okay, I'm going to keep that in the beginning. Okay, so I may need it someplace else, and may resurrect it, or something's going to happen, or I may transfer it, I'm not sure, because there's unstable, whatever reason. You're keeping, or you just get, hey, I got the $5 million. When it comes at the end, by this time you should know. When it comes at the end, you say, okay, Joe, I got $5 million left over, and they're going to go, you didn't spend it? You didn't utilize it? What do you got? Well, I kept it in the savings account and I got 2%. They will slap you around, and your performance and your goals, your performance, payout, for lack of better words, your bonuses are cut. You have to be in the corporate within 1 or 2% of your budget amount. If you have that much over and you're not going to use it, you talk to the parent, mom, dad, look, I got this money. Maybe you know how to invest it, because they could take that money, even with the exchange rate, just say it's all favorable or that, or they could say, hey, open up a new project. Could I use this for this? Or I reinvest, I speculate. Let the parent decide, or just say, no, you do what you think is well, but I want a higher return. Remember, you don't want to just like hide it, bury it, and then give it back. You're not going to go too far, because you're not using your money effectively. That money could be utilized because you've got it at a lower expense. It could be utilized to open up another investment, another market, or pay off an outstanding debt to reduce it. And overall, I keep my cash flow. So if you're going to use it, and if you're going to use it, let them know what you're going to use it for. You could, transfer the money to another budget for something else, or to another project that's been on hold, but that one's now becoming active. So where I'm going to get the money, I could transfer that in here, and it's closed up. But let your county know. The bottom line is how you're going to come up on your return and investment of the cash, and how you're managing the money you have. If you have extra money, do something with it. Don't bury it in the sand. And then when you come up there, there's a fable out there, and you come up there and say, "Well, I gave you $10,000. You made 20,000. You mean, hey, I love you. You're doing great. I give you more. I gave you 10,000. What do you do? I just buried it because I didn't know what to do with it. I had extra money. I don't need you there. Don't risk it. Even if you're a conservative manager or a subsidiary, make some money on it, or you're not going to ever move up, or you're not going to add value, and somebody else will be, or the parents will say, you do well, but you just don't know how to manage your cash. I'll take that control. Like taking the keys away from the car, and you got to ask him every time you want to drive. Yeah, I try not to use none of my. This is my last chapter, so I'm adding on the more of me. I try to put these little stories in there so you could remember the strategy, the concept. Why do I need this? And then you add it on and utilize it for here. Okay, the common techniques for optimizing cash. What are they? Accelerating cash inflows. How to get more in. Minimizing cash conversions. Right, I bring it in because I know there's going to be inflation's going on, or I want to move it out, or I bring it in because there's going to be a restriction of money going out. So I have it in advance, but I'm still keeping it someplace there. It's just more available and may not make as much money, but I know there's going to be an issue either bringing it out or bringing it in, or some rules change and I can't get out in time because I needed it. So let's maximize it. Doesn't keep it in. What else could I do? Or do I go around? I'm not saying the back door. I'm not doing anything illegal, guys. Mine is not to touch illegal, but I could transfer. It may not go back to the transfer to the U.S., but it could transfer to another subsidiary within the European Union, because the European Union has one central system. I'm just using that as an example. So logically, you can see what's happened. They have one central system, European central system. So they'll allow me to move money from France to Germany or to Poland, but they won't let them bring it back to the U.S. since the U.S. dollar is very strong. I mean, and that's not their strategy. So hey, we want to keep the money here, and let's not bring it out or let it go out. And they put some restriction, so I can move it around and help another subsidiary. So it's to the advantage. Remember, at an MMC, that it's a larger MMC globally and has different subsidiaries. There's still a parent like YAM, I think it's, and I might be pronouncing it in English second language for me, JUMM.com. Look it up there. For those of you who don't look around, it's very interesting. And I utilize that site a lot for when I teach principles of marketing or business marketing. Again, you can look me up on those cases. Okay, efforts for MMCs to optimize cash flows are complicated by. All right, so now if I'm looking at the efforts by MMCs to optimize cash flows are complicated by company-related characteristics, government restriction, and characteristics of banking. So if I give you a question, any kind of question, a lot of students will just give me the three things. Explain. What do you mean by company-related characteristic? Give me what are some company-related characteristics. Expand a little so I know. Government restrictions. Too general. What kind of government restriction? When I could money in, when I could do money out, whatever. Characteristic of banking system. What's going on with the banking system? What's their lending policy? What's going on? What's their interest rates? Or, what's going on there, right? You got to give me a little information. I'm not telling you all because I want you to look it up. That's how you're going to study. Not for me. You already have it there from previous chapters. I want you to look at it. Otherwise, you're just repeating everything I want. I want you critically to explain it. Those of you who are taking finance or anything else, remember you have to know the formulas and everything else for your discipline. But when you're talking to a customer, you just can't send them the formula or the equation. Here's how we got it. What the heck? Why is my bill like this? What do you mean you prorated my account? What the heck does that mean? You have to explain it. How do you come up with this amount? Well, you got this charge, and we divided this. You have to do it in words to a person who doesn't know anything about finance. You have to be able to communicate to that individual in their language without the formula. I mean, you're doing the formula, you're just explaining it to them. Okay, probably made that a little more confusing. You already had me for a while. You know what I mean. Okay, if the foreign currency depreciates over the investment period, what would happen if I would have an answer like this? This may offset any interest rate advantage of that country. Why? What are you talking about? Offset an interest rate advantage. Again, look in the book, what we have here, or look at previous chapters when we talked about the interest rate to interest rate parity, okay? Or the Fisher effect. Now, MMCs can possibly achieve higher returns when investing excess cash in foreign currencies that either have a relatively high interest rate, which we right now, well, it depends when you're watching this. I'll leave it open. Look to see what's going on in the market. Because today I can say, hey, yes, we do. Tomorrow, psh, different changes. Remember? That's what's a good thing about finance. Sometimes you're rich. Sometimes look, sometimes you're making a lot of money. Sometimes you're just surviving. You never want to lose or go down too far. You want to make sure, hey, I anticipated for the shortage. I had enough reserve cash to flow me through until the market comes up. But I'm anticipating the market come up in 3 months. What if it's a long-term recession? I think the whole bigger thing they're talking about, I forget what country is looking at they're in a recession and don't even realize it, because the government's going to tell you certain things that not to have a run on the banking system and the cash. Okay, so foreign currencies have either. Okay, we're good at that. Okay, we're done. Our last chapter, chapter 21. We're looking at. Let me just make this a little shorter. So I know how. Right, we talked about cash, managing cash, and this is the same strategy. Look at managing cash internationally as you would be managing your own cash at home. You have to manage it, right? So here we go. So you're managing cash. Your job is not to have too much and not to have too little. When I say you want a lot of cash, you want a lot of assets. So let's look at that, right? But you also have to make sure you have enough cash to take care of your bills and have enough cash flow in there. So you don't want to have excess cash out there and not do anything for you. Like again, like not burying it in the sand. And then when I, the parent, come and ask you, hey, how did you do with this? Because I trusted you. And you say, I didn't lose any money, but you didn't make any money. So long. That's not a good way of using money. I know when there's a banking crunch and everything else, a lot of people pull the money out. Greece does that. It's going to take a long time for the Greece economy for people to start trusting and putting their currency back in savings account. Because they froze it, they took away some of the checkings, they took away some of their assets on there. They said I should have just kept it. So now they're keeping the cash. I'm gonna say hoarding it, but keeping it. But they're not making any money on it because they feel, hey, I've lost 50% by keeping it, and they're going to give me 2% or 10%. But now the government. So how do I overcome that? They're going to have a higher interest rate, so people have confidence going in. Because remember, there's always that issue. I think the biggest issue with Greece and the European Union, just from my own perspective, is that issue that if you don't do well, you want to play, we kick you out of the club. Now in the U.S., if remember the central bank says this, they'll close the bank up, they'll take it over, the central bank has that authority. In the European Union, that's not there. There's still the subsidiary, for lack of a better word, has the control. You just have to follow the policy. Hey, that's the kind of way of looking at it. Look at the European Union, the European Central Bank versus the individual UE members. In Greece would be one of the subsidiaries. And they control it, but now they're doing this. They didn't follow the policy, the austerity, everything. I give you money, but you're not found it. So in the U.S., that wouldn't happen. They would just take over the bank, and the banking system would be part of they'd either find a new buyer or a new owner for that bank. They don't have that, so there's a little risk in there. That's just from my perspective. So if the rules, and they may change, you remember, because it's still formed. It's like the United States when we first formed independent countries. Now we're Illinois, one federation, for lack of better words, and that's similar to the European Union. but the banking system has a different structure for a while. They can just take it out. But if you don't play with my game, do it, we just kick you out of the club. We're not going to kick Wisconsin out of the club or some state or Illinois. I'm from Illinois. We owe everybody and their brother. Why businesses open up here? They do because they're still the customers. They're still looking. Hey, you're already so far. They're paying the high interest rates because our credit rating is so low. Hey, but they already set up. If they default, what's the worst thing happen? I get part of the state of Illinois. You got a nice. I don't want the governor's mansion because it needs about. I think he said something like about several $1,000,000 to renovate it because it's been let go for so long because of budget concerns. Okay, so again. I enjoyed having you in this class, whether you're an online class with me or face-to-face class. I teach other courses, management, international business, international management, financing, organizational behavior, consumer behavior, principal marketing, business to business, a little bit of finance. Man, I don't do too much accounting, too rigid for me, nothing against my accountant, but I have to understand that. I could have, you have to understand those concepts. So what happens right now, hopefully you, out of this 21, with the book, with the course, with the lecture, with your classmates, with the homework, you ended up with at least a basic, solid information. And for those of you who had the information, it regenerated, refocused parts that you might have forgot, even though you might have that discipline. Man, I forgot about that strategy. Man, I didn't even think about. I forgot that happens with the forward contract. Or now I know what a dynamic hedging is, or what my risk management is, or what the spot rates, and how do I use the forward contracts on that? Okay. So once again, look me up. I teach at Harper or the College of Lake County, different courses. So just say, what is Dr. Mochocki teaching this semester? I saw his YouTube or in this class here. Or if you're not in the area, go to your local community college. The best bet for your money. It is basically set up to not only help the area that they're operating in, they're tied with the Small Business Administration. They also help the small when I the way I'm a little older, the mom and pops, or I look at the small businesses, depending on your business, is it by cash or by product or by industries, and they also will help you with your finances. And there's a couple chapters back. They'll also assist you if you're not familiar. Even if you are an MCI, utilize them as a resource to make connections in different markets. They'll give you good perspectives and give you leads because they're really they want to make the U.S. economy strong. And if the U.S. economy is strong, we bring jobs back to the United States, or we maintain or we keep jobs in the United States, and we help the middle class, which most of us are in. We're at the bottom. Eventually you don't have a middle class. You're either rich and poor, but let's re-stimulate the middle class. And the middle class, most middle class will be working for small and medium businesses. Some of you will have the opportunity to work for a multinational corporation. Remember, a multinational corporation is looking at the global as one big market, and they bring the talent from all over different parts of the country, depending where they're opening up. So they know. I always want to say they have very little loyalty to any one country. Their loyalty is to the shareholders, because if one area is suffering, they'll maintain it, keep it going until it picks up the economy, but they'll transfer their money and most of their investments someplace else until this stabilizes. All right? So you've learned a lot in this class. And one more thing. Any degree you're going into, just the only international class you've taken, try to take more. I've done some research in international class community colleges. We offer very little. And I can tell you that right now, very little. My whole research study says even though community colleges know that's an importance, we do very little training. We just teach the small businesses and the people who are coming out that are basically going to be the feeder for employees and for a lot of small and medium companies that will be multinationals or will be in the internet, and we give them very little experience. They don't, they may not have their bachelor's, but they're starting off their businesses. We should start planting those seeds at that first base and have more courses. And if you're looking for a job, this is nice to say, I've got my marketing degree or business administration degree or finance degree or accounting, but I also have some courses I've taken in international marketing, finance, whatever. That gives you a plus. Remember, when I'm hiring somebody, or when I'm looking, when an employer is looking at you, or if you're trying to get in an MMC, do you know anything? You speak a second language, good. Or even if you don't, I've had all these classes. I know the strategy. I've taken classes. You have that door for someone who doesn't. I'm trying to get you employed. I'm trying to get you to grow, and that's why most instructors, including myself at community college, are really there to help you succeed. And when you succeed, you help the economy. You know, Adam Smith from economics. You help your constituents, your geographic area. You help other people in your economic zone, and you also help me get, hopefully down the road, my Social Security, or minimize everything else. All right, or take my classes again because he's, hey, I like him. He talks a lot, but he presents the material well. He does well. And what, of course, is Dr. George Mochocki teaching at Harper College, Lake County. And this course here is basically offered at Harper College. All right? But any other colleges look for it. So try to take some international business. We offer an international course, and they don't seem to be going. It's not a four-year university unless it feeds in there. They don't think that's important. And you know what? That's hurting us. Because look, at the European Union, basically they were all individual countries. They already been in the international market. Even they don't have, they're having issues working as one unified entity, for lack of better words, where we know how to work as one unified entity, but we don't know how to go out into other markets internationally. And remember, the Small Business Administration, they have a whole area there. And I listed some websites. The author listed a lot of websites. Contact them. They'll help you out. They'll give you some strategy. And they're on a cost basis. A lot of times they prorate the cost depending on your ability to pay. Remember, the government wants you to succeed. Most of your middle class will be working for small to medium businesses, or we want you to open up. If every small and medium business has more exporting, not importing, we could offset imbalance of payments that we have, that we owe other people, just by 20% doing more exporting. I think those are not, I could be wrong. I'm not, I just pulled that out from some of the studies I've been reading. And I think they said if 20% of small existing small businesses go up, so community colleges, you have to do that. Trust me, I researched this. I just didn't have enough time because of the economy and everything else to really fund it, push that drive. But take it for what it's worth. Try to take some international business classes, or ask your community college, hey, could I have a few classes? If you notice, all the books you get have some international aspect, very small. I'm not talking about international education. We go over there and learn about different culture at night. I'm looking about how do I go to that culture, learn about the culture so I could sell to that culture. I'm moving you from a socialistic or model to, it's nice to know about everybody else, to more of a business model. I need to know about the culture. I'm friendly, I understand the culture, but my intent is so I could sell my products or buy their products at a good price, so it's a benefit for both that culture and my culture. That's how I look at international business and international interaction, versus then someone looking at international education means I get people to understand us. A lot of people come to the U.S. Internationally because of business opportunities, but also to understand how the American consumer thinks. How are we creative? And basically, if you look at our strength in the U.S. is not in the software and everything else, is our diversification. Even though we're in separate silos, but when we go to work, we all work for different things, different trains of thought. You can't capture that creativity. And remember, your community college, are really strong. They should be the backbone of small and medium businesses, and also for professional growth opportunities that you send your employees to. You have Harper, for example. I keep on doing it. Wants to be the best. That's the strategy of that school. Is most of the adjuncts or contractors and myself, even the staff, they're always stressing they have to have a PhD or what they call terminal level education. You're getting the best for your money at a condensed price, a good price. So utilize us. You're already paying your taxes. And I'll see you in one of my other classes. Or I'll see you again if you didn't pass this class. Have a nice day. My name is Dr. George Mochocki, Finance 225, Chapter 21, International Cash Management. And I'm signing off, and we're done for this Finance 225 class. And enjoy meeting all of you online or in the face-to-face, or on the YouTube. Just keep me in mind. Got any extra cash, send me some. You can't write off a donation. Take me for my class. It helps the altar, helps the school, and helps the community as a whole. Bye.